The funeral home was alive with whispers, but one cruel sentence cut through the grief. "Your dad never loved you." It struck like a blade, meant to break me as I stood beside his coffin, my son's small hand trembling in mine. Then, with a soft rustle, my boy pulled a worn letter from Dad's tattered wallet, its faded ink holding a truth that reshaped our world. What it revealed turned every doubt into light. The funeral parlor was a sea of muted colors, the air thick with the scent of roses and polished wood, a sterile mask over the raw sting of loss. At 37, I, Lena Carver, stood in a black dress that felt too heavy. My 13-year-old son, Jasper, pressed close to my side. His hazel eyes, so much like my father's, scanned the room, wide with a mix of curiosity and unease. My father, Walter Carver, lay in the sleek walnut casket before us, his face smoothed by death into a stillness that seemed alien. The man who'd raised me with stern lessons and rare fleeting warmth was gone, leaving a void that roared with unanswered questions. Jasper's hand was warm in mine, his tie slightly crooked from nervous fidgeting. "Mom, why do some people hug us but others just stare?" he whispered, his voice nearly lost in the hum of mourners. "They're all saying goodbye in their own way," I said, adjusting his tie with a forced smile. "It's how they honor Grandpa." But not all honors were kind. Near the condolence book, my Aunt Beatrice, Dad's older sister, stood with her son, Victor, and his wife, their heads bent in a conspiratorial huddle. Beatrice had never hidden her disdain for me. Her barbed remarks about my artsy job as a museum curator, or my choice to raise Jasper alone, were family staples. Today, her words were venomous, crafted to wound. As I guided Jasper toward the refreshment table, her voice slithered through the crowd. "Walter never loved Lena, you know. She was always too much, too dreamy, too needy, a burden he couldn't shake." The accusation hit like a fist, stealing my breath. Jasper's grip tightened, his small frame stiffening. He'd heard it too. I knelt, brushing a lock of chestnut hair from his forehead, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "Don't listen, buddy. They're just hurting today." But Jasper's eyes searched mine, his voice barely above a whisper. "Is it true, Mom? Did Grandpa not love you?" The question was a dagger, slicing through a wound I'd carried for decades. How do you explain a father who was there but not fully present? Dad wasn't cruel, not in the ways that leave visible marks. He'd taught me to sketch, fixed my broken toys, but there was always a distance, a wall I could never scale. After Mom died when I was 10, that wall grew impenetrable, and I became the daughter who tried too hard, too emotional, too desperate for his approval, always falling short. His love, if it existed, was buried beneath layers of silence and expectation. "Don't know, Jasper," I said, my throat tight. "But I love you, and that's what counts." He nodded, but doubt clouded his gaze, and I cursed Beatrice for planting it. I led him to a corner table, hoping cookies would distract him, but my own heart was unraveling. Beatrice's words weren't new. I'd heard whispers of my inadequacy my whole life. But now, with Dad gone, they felt like a final verdict, sealing my fear that I'd never been enough. Dad's cancer had been a thief, claiming him in months. I'd spent those final weeks at his bedside, bringing Jasper, reading him old adventure novels, hoping for a moment of connection. Sometimes he'd squeeze my hand, his fingers weak but warm, and I'd think, "This is it. He'll say he loves me." But he never did. Beatrice's claim now amplified my deepest dread. I'd been unloved, unseen, a weight he'd borne reluctantly. The service began, and I sat with Jasper, my younger sister Nora, and her husband Paul in the front row. Nora, 5 years my junior, had always been Dad's light, his gardening partner, his confidant. I didn't resent her. She was warm, loyal, the one who'd kept us tethered after Mom's death. But today, even her presence couldn't dull the sting of Beatrice's words. The pastor's eulogy painted Dad as a pillar, blacksmith, volunteer coach, man of quiet strength. But it was a half-truth. Where was the father who'd snap at me for daydreaming, then spend hours forging a neighbor's gate? The man who'd missed my art school exhibition but built Nora's bookshelves? His contradictions were erased in platitudes, and I hated how they flattened him. After the service, mourners mingled, their condolences a blur of clasped hands and murmured sympathies. I nodded through them, my mind stuck on Beatrice's accusation. Jasper stayed close, clutching Dad's old wallet, a scuffed leather relic he'd found in the hospital bag. "Can I keep it, Mom?" he'd asked, and I'd agreed, thinking it harmless. Now, he turned it over in his hands, his fingers tracing the worn edges, as if it held answers I couldn't give. Beatrice approached, her face a mask of false sympathy. "Lena, you did a fine job with the arrangements. Walter would have appreciated it." I swallowed my anger. "Thanks, Beatrice. I wanted to honor him." Her eyes glinted, predatory. "He was a hard man to please. Always said you were too, much like your mother, too fanciful, always needing more than he could give." Jasper's head snapped up, his voice sharp. "That's not true. Grandpa loved Mom." Beatrice's lips curled, but she pressed on. "Oh, Jasper, you're just a boy. You don't know how it was. Walter had his favorites and Lena wasn't. One of them." I pulled Jasper close, my voice firm. "Enough, Beatrice. This is a funeral, not a place to settle scores." She huffed, turning away, but the damage was done. Jasper's eyes shimmered with tears, and my own threatened to spill. I led him outside, the crisp October air a balm after the stifling parlor. We sat on a stone bench, and I hugged him tightly, whispering, "Don't believe her, okay? She's wrong." "But what if she's right?" he asked, his voice breaking. "What if Grandpa didn't love you?" I wanted to lie, to wrap him in a story of a perfect father. But Jasper deserved truth, or as close as I could get. Grandpa wasn't easy to understand. He didn't always show love the way we wanted, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there. We can't know everything he felt, but we know he cared in his own way. Jasper nodded, but his fingers kept working at the wallet, and then a small folded paper slipped out, yellowed and creased. He unfolded it, his eyes widening. "Mom, it's a letter. It says Lena on it." My heart stopped. In Dad's jagged scrawl, there it was. For Lena. I took it, my hands trembling, and met Jasper's gaze. "Should we read it?" He nodded, scooting closer. "Yeah, together." The letter was a fragile thing, its edges softened by years of concealment. Jasper and I sat on the bench, the funeral home's chatter a distant hum, the world shrinking, to the paper in my hands. My pulse thundered as I unfolded it, Dad's handwriting uneven but deliberate. I read aloud, my voice quivering. "Lena, I'm not a man for words, and if you're reading this, I've run out of time to find them. I've made mistakes, more than I can count, and the biggest was with you. You were never a burden, never less than everything to me, but I failed to show it. This letter is my try at making it right, even if it's too late." I paused, tears blurring the ink. Jasper's hand squeezed mine, urging me to continue. "Your mom's death broke me. Evelyn was my anchor, and without her I was lost. You were so much like her, creative, feeling everything so deeply, and it terrified me. Every time I saw you, I saw her, and the pain was too much. So I pushed you away, thinking it'd protect us both. But it hurt you, and I've carried that guilt every day." You're my pride, Lena. I watched you become a woman stronger than I ever was, raising Jasper, curating art, standing tall. I wanted to tell you I loved you, but the words choked me. I'm sorry for every moment you felt unloved, unseen. You were always enough. There's something else. Your mom left you a gift, something I kept hidden because I was too weak to face it. In my safe, there's a key to a storage unit, number 42 at Miller's Yard. Inside are her sketchbooks and her poetry, the ones she wrote before you were born. She wanted you to have them, to know her heart. I should have given them to you years ago, but I couldn't let go. They're yours now, like they always were. I love you, Lena. I always did, even when I failed you. Take care of Jasper, and don't let my silence define you. You're my daughter, and you're everything. Dad. Tears streamed down my face, and Jasper was crying too, his arms around me. He loved you, Mom, he whispered. He said it. I nodded, clutching the letter, its words a bridge across decades of doubt. Dad had loved me, but grief had silenced him. And Mom's sketchbooks and poetry. I hadn't known she'd been a poet, let alone an artist. I could barely recall her voice, but now I had a piece of her, locked away because of Dad's pain. Jasper wiped his eyes, his voice firm. We have to find Grandma's poems, Mom. For her. You're right, I said, kissing his forehead. We will. But first, we need to get through today. We sat there, the letter between us, its truth sinking in. I felt lighter, as if a chain I'd worn since childhood had snapped, but there was anger too. At Dad for his silence, at Beatrice for her cruelty, at myself for believing I wasn't enough. Jasper, though, was my strength, his faith in me unshaken. Back inside, the reception dragged on, Beatrice's voice cutting through the crowd. I caught. Walter always said Lena was a disappointment. My blood boiled, and I knew I couldn't let her lies stand, not after the letter. I approached, Jasper at my side, and cut in. Beatrice, stop. I don't know why you need to hurt me, but it's over. Dad loved me. I have his letter, and I don't need your lies to define me. She blinked, startled, but rallied. A letter? Oh, Lena, don't be dramatic. Walter told me himself you were a burden. Jasper stepped forward, his voice fierce. You're lying. Grandpa wrote Mom a letter, and he said he loved her. You're just mean. Heads turned, the room quieting. Beatrice's face flushed, but she scoffed. A letter? Convenient. You're desperate, Lena. I held up the letter, my voice calm but unyielding. It's real, Beatrice. And it's not for you to judge. Dad made mistakes, but he's gone, and I'm done letting you rewrite him. Nora appeared, her hand on my shoulder. She's right, Beatrice. Let it go. This is Dad's day, not yours. Beatrice muttered something and stormed off, Victor trailing. I exhaled, trembling but proud. Jasper hugged me, whispering, You were awesome, Mom. The reception blurred after that, mourners' faces fading as I held the letter's truth, close. That night, Jasper slept with the wallet under his pillow, and I reread the letter, memorizing every word. The storage unit loomed, a promise and a mystery. Mom's sketchbooks and poetry were out there, and I'd find them. For her, for Jasper, for me. But there was another layer to this pain. My cousin Victor had always been Beatrice's mouthpiece, echoing her disdain. In the weeks before Dad's death, he'd cornered me at a family dinner, saying Dad had confided in him about my failures. The memory gnawed at me, fueling my resolve to uncover the truth and silence their lies. Morning light filtered through the curtains, and Jasper was already up, the wallet in his hands. "Mom, can we go to the storage unit today? I want to see Grandma's poems." I hesitated, the funeral's weight still heavy, but his eagerness was a spark I couldn't ignore. "Okay," I said. "Let's find them." We drove to Dad's house, a cluttered craftsman home filled with blacksmith tools and faded photos. The safe was in his study, a heavy steel box behind a shelf of old ledgers. Jasper watched as I entered the combination. Mom's anniversary, a detail that now felt like a quiet confession. Inside was the key to Unit 42, a few old coins, and Dad's blacksmith hammer. I pocketed the key, my heart pounding. Miller's yard was a sprawling storage facility, its metal doors glinting in the sun. Unit 42 was tucked in a corner, its lock stubborn but giving way. Jasper bounced as I raised the door, revealing a dim space packed with boxes, a portfolio case, and the faint scent of paper and charcoal. "Whoa," Jasper breathed, stepping inside. "It's like a secret library." I smiled, opening the portfolio to find a stack of sketchbooks, their pages filled with Mom's drawings, landscapes, portraits, abstract swirls. Her signature, Evelyn, was scrawled in the corner, and I ran my fingers over it, a shiver running through me. I hadn't known she'd been an artist, let alone a poet. We dug through boxes, finding more sketchbooks and bundles of poems, some typed, others handwritten, all in Mom's elegant script. Jasper held up a poem, his eyes wide. "Mom, these are Grandma's. Can we read one?" "We will," I promised. "But let's take them home first." We spent hours sorting, Jasper stacking sketchbooks while I paged through poems. Mom's words were vivid, odes to love, loss, and dreams, interspersed with notes about me. Lena, my spark, laughed today, like she's painting the world with her joy. Tears fell as I read, Jasper hugging me silently. One poem was dedicated to me. "Lena, my canvas, your heart is a brush. Paint boldly, no matter what." It was a gift, her voice reaching across decades. The haul was too much for my car, so I called Nora, who arrived with Paul in their van. "Lena, these are incredible," Nora said, touching a sketch. "Dad never mentioned her art." "He didn't tell me either," I said, showing her the letter. Nora read it, her eyes misting. "I'm sorry, Lena. I didn't see how he pulled away from you. I should have." "It's okay," I said. "We're here now. Let's honor them." We moved the treasures to my apartment, turning my dining room into an archive. Jasper hung his favorite sketch, a starry sky, above the couch, declaring it Grandma's masterpiece. I smiled, feeling Mom and Dad's presence, their love no longer a question. But Beatrice's words lingered, and Victor's earlier taunts echoed. I decided to share Mom's work publicly, a way to silence their lies and celebrate her legacy. I planned an exhibit at the museum where I worked, with Jasper helping create posters, his excitement infectious. The exhibit was set for a month later, and as it neared, I felt a mix of nerves and resolve. This was about Mom's voice, Dad's truth, and my right to be seen. I read her poems nightly, each one a piece of her I'd lost, and Jasper started sketching, inspired by his grandmother. But there was another challenge. My coworker, Rachel, had been skeptical of my project, questioning whether Mom's work was museum-worthy. Her doubt stung, mirroring Beatrice's disdain, and I knew the exhibit had to succeed, not just for Mom, but to prove my worth. The museum's gallery was transformed, its walls lined with Mom's sketches and framed poems. Jasper and I had spent weeks preparing, curating pieces, writing placards, and inviting family, friends, and locals. The night of the exhibit, the room buzzed with anticipation. Jasper in a blazer, handing out programs he'd designed. I wore Mom's old locket, a silver piece I'd found in a sketchbook, and stood by the entrance greeting guests. Nora and Paul managed refreshments, their support a quiet amends for years of distance. Dad's old blacksmith colleagues came, sharing stories of his generosity, though I knew his flaws too well to idealize him. The centerpiece was Dad's letter, framed beside a portrait of Mom, her smile radiant. Jasper had insisted on including it. People need to know Grandpa loved you, Mom. So there it was, a raw truth for all to see. As the crowd grew, I saw Beatrice and Victor slip in, their faces smug. My stomach tightened, but I refused to let them taint this. I took the microphone, my voice steady. Thank you for coming to celebrate my mother, Evelyn Carver, and her art. These sketches and poems were hidden for years, but they're here, now because of love. Her love for creating, my father's love for her, and the love that carried us through grief. My son, Jasper, found a letter from my dad, proving love isn't always loud, but it's always real. This is for them, and for us. The crowd clapped, Jasper grinning beside me. Beatrice whispered to Victor. But I focused on the faces around me, friends, colleagues, strangers moved by Mom's work. We displayed the sketches, each one a story, and read her poems, her voice filling the room. People gasped, some teared. Up, and Jasper whispered, "That's Grandma." After my talk, Beatrice approached, her smile sharp. "Lena, this is quaint. But don't think some drawings and a letter change the truth." Walter was clear. "You were a burden." I faced her, my voice calm but firm. "Beatrice, the truth is in that letter and these poems. Dad loved me, and Mom did too. You can't rewrite that." Jasper stepped up, clutching the wallet. "You're wrong about Mom and Grandpa. This wallet had the letter, and it's real. Stop being mean." Beatrice flinched, the crowd watching. Victor tugged her arm, and she left, her power diminished. Nora hugged me, whispering, "You did it, Lena. Dad would be proud." "I know," I said, and I meant it. The exhibit ran for hours, with more sketches displayed and poems read. Several pieces were acquired by the museum, and a local poet offered to publish Mom's work. Rachel, my skeptical coworker, approached, her tone softer. "I was wrong, Lena. This is extraordinary." Her validation was a small victory, but Jasper's pride was my true reward. Beatrice stayed silent after that, her influence waning. Victor sent a curt apology, but I didn't need it. The letter, the sketches, Jasper's love, they were my truth. A year later, life had a new rhythm. Mom's sketches and poems adorned our home, a daily reminder of her spirit. Jasper started an art club at school, his sketches inspired by his grandmother, and I began drawing too, small pieces that felt like conversations with Mom. Each stroke was a step toward healing, a reclaiming of myself. The storage unit yielded more treasures: Mom's journals, Dad's old letters to her, a photo of them dancing under a willow tree. I kept them in a memory box, a shrine to their imperfect, beautiful love. Nora and I grew closer, our shared loss building a bridge. She apologized again for not seeing Dad's distance, and I forgave her, knowing we'd both been shaped by grief. Beatrice faded from our lives, Victor distancing himself as the family tired of her lies. I didn't revel in it. She was hurting too, but I no longer carried her words. Dad's letter was my armor, its truth unbreakable. On Mom's birthday, Jasper and I visited her grave, bringing a sketch we'd made together, a portrait of her based on her self-portrait. Jasper placed it by the headstone, whispering, "We love you, Grandma." I cried, not from pain, but from peace, knowing Mom and Dad's love was with us. The exhibit sparked a community art program at the museum, using Mom's story to inspire others. Jasper taught kids to draw, his confidence a mirror of the boy who'd faced Beatrice, The program grew, and I felt Mom's pride in every class, every kid who found their voice through art. One evening, Jasper sat with the wallet, now a talisman of our journey. "Mom, do you think Grandpa's happy? Knowing we found the letter in Grandma's poems?" I hugged him, my heart full. "I do, buddy. He's happy, and so are we." We were. The pain of Dad's silence, Beatrice's cruelty, my doubts, they'd shaped us, but they didn't define us. Mom's art, Dad's letter, Jasper's love, they were our legacy, and we'd carry it forward, bold and unbroken. Call to support. If Lena and Jasper's story touched your heart, please support our channel.